All right, everyone, welcome to Dashboards and Vantagepoint, which will be discovering the default dashboards and dashparts. So if you want to go ahead and give me a little slide change there, perfect. So I'll just start out today, guys, for letting you know, just in case some of you don't have a great awareness of Rhodium Digital, I'll briefly shine a little bit of light on what we do before Dolph takes over. So Rhodium Digital is a technical advisory practice built to empower businesses with contemporary tools and processes. The goal being to create streamlined, future resilient organizations who achieve a great return on the investments that they make towards their systems and the processes that support these systems. We've been fortunate enough to partner with a range of well-recognized ERP vendors, Deltek included. Our team is thrilled that Vantagepoint has reached maturity and that we have the opportunity to support so many growing AE and similar project-based consultancies running Vision and Vantagepoint. If you have any questions surrounding your ERP, don't hesitate to run those by us. There's a very good chance we'll support other clients just like you through similar situations. As kind of a little bit of a housekeeping note, on the bottom of your screen, you'll notice there's a Q&A box. You can go ahead throughout the presentations, and if you have any questions, just drop them in that box. And at the end of the presentation, we'll open that box up and go through any questions that you have. Now let's get right into what we're here to discuss, dashboards and Vantagepoint. Take it away, Dolph.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to come and join us in this presentation. We are going to be talking today about Vantagepoint. There we go. We're going to be talking today about dashboards and dashparts in Vantagepoint. So, as many of you have already seen Vantagepoint, some of you are already using Vantagepoint. One of the advantages, in my mind, of Vantagepoint is that the dashboarding using dashparts allow users to quickly and easily access critical information visually in one space. And what we're going to be doing in the next half hour is we're going to be visiting some very, very critical functionality components in the application. The presentation of the information, as you are going to see in the next short while, is focused by employee role within the organization. So this really allows people in various functional areas to graphically see the information on a need-to-know basis. There's a lot of material here. We are going to be visiting a dashpart and a dashboard for each of these functional areas in the next few minutes, starting right now with the most fundamental level, which is the level of an employee. For an employee, what's really, for most of your employees, what's really critical is understanding where you are planned to be working, if we're using planning, your activities, if activities has been configured, and where you have been working on an historical basis. So we're going to start in this top left corner with the very simple My Utilization this quarter, which is a very important graphical part, particularly because in most firms, individual utilization is an important metric on a personal basis. And certainly many employees have utilization targets. And so this is a very simple graphical representation that breaks out all the time entered by each individual contributor. Similarly, an individual contributor has access to the projects that that individual is working on. And so again, this is in a grid view, but is again something that is useful for individual time entry people in terms of organizing their day, as well as the way they're going to be entering their timesheets, perhaps. Now, at a supervisory level, we can present this information and more using a dashboard that can be focused typically by supervisor. So the individual who's responsible, for employees can look at their employees and how their employees are working. And so we have very similar graphs here, but in addition, we might look at something like time analysis, which again, in this representation is a tabular view showing all the information entered by employees who are active during the current year. And as noted in the bottom right-hand corner, this dashboard is grouped by supervisor. We can also look at utilization by supervisor. And so this allows us to understand by individual the differential between direct hours and indirectors using a TAC chart or TAC columns chart. The next critical area involves in helping improve the billing cycle to help generate additional cash flow. And so there are a number of critical components to billing review and invoice approval in Vantagepoint. And we're going to take a few minutes just to look at some of these a little bit more carefully. The first is the billing fee review. And one of the really cool things, I believe, about this tabular representation is an area highlighted in red here. This red is indicating to us that the billing fee does not equal the compensation that's been set up in the contract. And so, for those users who've been using Vision for years, this involves looking two places: in billing terms, as well as in either the contracts tab or the budget and compensation tab in the project info center. And in my mind, the first time I saw this was a wow moment to have one place where I can see whether the billing fee is not equal to the compensation. Just a great improvement, represented visually in your face, whenever an authorized person opens this fee review graph in Vantagepoint. In addition, there's all sorts of graphing and tables available to help facilitate and speed up the invoice approval process in Vantagepoint. One of these is a graph that gives us a difference graphically between the billed amount, the unbilled transactions, and the compensation field. Again, the compensation coming from the budget and revenue tab or / contracts in the application. Very, very powerful graphical representation to help us understand how we are tracking towards our contract values when it comes to both billed and unbilled transactions in a project by project level. In addition, the draft invoice review can show information regarding draft invoices for all active projects, including billed, work in process, draft comments, and the project manager. So this can be used in a variety of different ways by different people in different roles in the organization. The next major functional area is that of CRM. Obviously, these charts, these dashboards and dashparts are contingent on having CRM licensing in the application. But we're finding increasingly that this is very appealing to organizations who want to get a better handle around their pipelines, their sales pursuits, projected revenue, projected resources, resource usage, and so forth. So the first of these charts is my upcoming milestones. This gives us graphically a representation with the ability to drill down into milestones with respect to opportunities that we are working in the CRM pipeline. My pursuits is, again, part of the CRM functionality, and it's basically a tabular representation of the pursuit projects where I, as an individual, am involved. And it gives me really, really good information with respect to each of these opportunities, including the estimated fee, the probability, some description of probability, as well as the weighted fee, along with the stage of the opportunity that this particular opportunity is at. My activities is also part of CRM, and this helps employees who are working on pursuits to keep track of what is going on within that opportunity, as well as keeping track of future and historically past meetings, key milestones, including RFP dates RFP due dates, scheduling future meetings, webinars, whatever activities are applicable to that particular pursuit. And from a management perspective, CRM also offers a pipeline. And this is a graphical representation of both our estimated and weighted revenue by month, by date. So we actually can filter on this and take a look by stage at how our pipeline is progressing through the sales cycle. From a business development perspective, there's also the ability to identify trends as well as pursuits that might require leadership attention. The first of these would be the weighted and estimated fee by stage. And so going across, we have stages have been awarded, some that are pre-qualification, some that are at the proposal creation stage, and so forth. We also can look at the weighted fee by project type. And so again, this is a very quick view of where we are at in pursuit projects by the various types of projects that might be involved here. Another CRM graph and dashpart is being able to look at our top 10 clients. And this is an example. The clients who use CRM to help build and manage their pipelines tend to sell more business than the firms that do not do this. This is a tabular representation of the graph that we just looked at. And basically this allows us to look at greater detail with respect to each of the pursuit projects. And this particular view is grouped and sorted by stage of each pursuit. A very important component in business development is understanding our hit rate. The hit rate is the rate at which we are able to close opportunities. And from firm to firm, this analysis might bear out information, valuable information, such as a individual business developer who is capable of closing business faster than their peers. It might be a different part of the organization, a different department, a different type of client, a different geography. Again, it's what we're looking at here is how quickly different parts of the organization or different contributors within the organization are capable of selling new business more quickly. And so we can look at this in a tabular perspective by quarter. And again, this is broken down by stage. The top one being, it literally says, hooray, we got it, we won, we lost some. There might also be differentiation for repeat clients, clients with whom we do business on multiple projects and so forth. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we also have the ability to analyze the hit rate by individual, the individual actually selling the project. And by project type. And one thing that I find very, very useful with clients is understanding the reason why we won or lost. There are a number of dashparts and dashboards that can be pulled together from a project management perspective. Here is what I consider to be one very valuable dashboard at a project manager level. And this is one that I've labeled as being performance related. The first dashpart is the project dashpart. This dashpart allows you to look at the compensation, the revenue, how much has been spent at billing, and how much has been billed for projects that you manage. Imagine putting this graph on the monitor, on the dashboard of each and every project manager in the organization. And so basically, that project manager would log on and have this snapshot available to them. Very, very powerful, very meaningful. The project remaining dashboard, again, is filtered by project manager. And this allows us to take a look at the backlog, which is defined as the compensation, take away the revenue already declared, the unbilled, as well as the variance between the revenue and how much has been spent at billing, for the projects that a particular project manager manages. The My Project Snapshot, and again, it's My Project Snapshot, so this is designed for an individual who is a project manager, is a quick snapshot in a tabular view, giving us access to critical information. Some of this information might be available to somebody currently using Vision, using the project earnings report. But now it's available graphically using a dashpart on the project manager dashboard. In addition to the performance, we also have a number of dashparts that can be made available to a project manager to help them understand the financial health of the projects that they are managing. The first of these might be the profit and revenue. This is obviously implies the project manager having access to costing information. But for some firms, this understanding of profitability is critically important. And this is just a summation of all the projects that this particular project manager is managing. We can go deeper than that into a tabular view. And in the tabular view, for every project that this project manager is managing, we can present critical information, again, graphically, without having to go run a report. This can be presented on the project manager's dashboard. Another critical component for a project manager might be having a good understanding of accounts receivable, again, presented graphically. And so basically, by project, we can present a tabular representation of the accounts receivable in dollars, of course, that are unpaid at this point in time. In addition, the project manager as an individual can, for the projects on their watch, have another tabular report, the project list report. Critical information with respect to each project, including probability where CRM is in use. At a higher level than a project manager, we think of the principals, the owners of the firm, and giving each of these individuals, again, dashboards that are useful and meaningful for their usage. So the projects where I am the principal, very similar to the tabular view for projects for a project manager, at a very high level. Principal might be interested in having a tabular representation of project revenue for the projects on their watch as well. And for the projects on their watch, we might bring that top 10 client receivables and bring that forward. There are a number of additional representations, and some of these dash parts on this principal dashboard are dash parts that we've already looked at in the context of the project manager role. I've got a couple here that we've not yet looked at. The first is the cash management trend analysis. This basically allows us to analyze the receivables, the payables, and our cash position, and understand graphically where cash flow is tracking. And forgive the lack of data on this slide, but another one is the current account balances, simply giving us a tabular view of the balance in various general ledger accounts. We might give the principals the total revenue and labor trends, where graphically we can understand billed revenue and direct labor costs graphically. Just another representation of what the extent to which we might provide detail to a principal. A lot of these dash parts can also be provided to accountants, to people in accounting. And so that particular dashboard, including this dash part, projects are approaching completion with a highlight with respect to percentage completion at 85% and 95%. So many of the dash parts that are available to other roles could be drawn into a role that somebody in accounting, might look at as well. And from a resource planning perspective, we graphically can provide good visibility into things such as generic assignments that have been planned for using planning that need to be assigned to individual contributors. The last dash part that I'd like to show you today, and there are a lot more, is a dash part which is a representation with drill down into favorite reports. These could be global favorites, they could be role specific favorites, they could be personal favorites. What we tried to cover in the last 30 minutes or so is a representation of the dashboards and dash parts available in Vantagepoint. Vantagepoint facilitates a very, very quick and easy access visually to the information that is very important for people in different roles to know. And at that, I will close my presentation, open my video, and ask if we have any questions quickly. I know I've gone over a bit, but I do apologize for that. But
no problem, Dolph. I will open up our Q&A box. So one question that we have so far is, how do we adjust who receives the dashboards or the dash parts specific to their role?
Great question, thank you. This is all done in configuration using security by role. And there is tremendous flexibility in adjusting user access using role security.
All right, perfect. Another question we have is, are the dashboards shown today available by default in Vantagepoint?
The dashboards are all available by default. Some of these need to be configured, and this is an area in which we can help.
All right, so another one is, where are these dashboards available to Vantagepoint users? Or when are they available?
Where is Vantagepoint?
Right, it's probably a loaded question, but when?
When is right now. Right now, we already have clients using Vantagepoint dashboards and various of the dash parts. So okay, it's available today.
Awesome. Today is a great day. Are these dashboards available on mobile devices is another question we've got coming in.
So Vantagepoint, and this is the first thing I'm going to say, Vantagepoint is browser agnostic. And so you can use any browser, any current browser, I will say, Safari included, to access Vantagepoint. Now, so effectively, you could use a mobile device. Certainly, tablets are not an issue, but I think you would find that if the display on a truly mobile device, a phone, might be more problematic. It's just too small. So, so basically, if you're using a desktop, a laptop, a tablet, you're good to go. And by the way, there's no limitation stopping users from accessing Vantagepoint from your mobile devices to enter your time, your expenses, to use CRM, and so forth. I enter my time from my iPhone.
Okay, great. So we've got one more question here that says, in Vantagepoint, can our PMs fully interact with the browser-based interface rather than the old Vision interface?
I love that question because that's the whole idea, folks. That is the idea behind Vantagepoint. One of the many ideas behind Vantagepoint was to facilitate user adoption. And so the way we facilitate user adoption, particularly by timekeepers, front office staff, project managers, is by taking all that functionality and bringing that forward into the new user interface in Vantagepoint. And certainly there are certain functionalities that have yet to come across to the new interface, but Vantagepoint today is at version 4, and each subsequent release will take away more and more and more functionality of the old interface and bring that functionality forward into the new interface. Good question.
Perfect. I've actually got one more that just came in. It says, are you able to customize dash parts? And then it says, for example, create a dash part that has employee utilization rates as well as employee realization rates.
That's a good question. I will have to look into that. We will have to take a note of that and get back to you.
Okay, perfect. Is there any other questions? I'll give people a couple more seconds there if they've got anything that they want to type in. All right. Looks like that's all the questions for today. So thanks everybody again for coming to this fantastic webinar presented by Dolph Vonberg himself. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Thursday today. Thanks very much for coming. Bye-bye.